Yo, book nerds! Yesterday was the first day of fall, but it was also the start of Banned Books Week. So we gotta talk about banned books. Banned Books Week goes from September 22nd to September 28th. So it's a whole week dedicated to all the books that society and governments and schools, etc., all the books that people have tried to keep out of our hands. And I think it's so important that we read these books. Banned Books Week also ends with Let Freedom Read Day on September 28th. So read whatever you want to read. That's what this entire week is about. The theme for Banned Books Week this year is Freed Between the Lines. If you want more information on Banned Books Week, you can find that on the ALA.org website. They are one of the biggest organizations that collects data on banned books. I have used lists from the ALA website in past years for Banned Books Week. I like to find a list of banned books and talk about the ones that I've read and haven't read. But this year I found a different website that had a different list, so I decided to use that one this year instead of one of the ones on the ALA website, but there are tons on there, so go check them out. So the list that I am using this year is from the community library at comlib.org, and their list was 25 frequently challenged books considered classic literature. You guys know that I love my classics. So when I found a list of classics that have been banned, you knew I had to talk about it. So we're not actually going to go through all 25. I will put a link to where you can find the entire list, but we're going to go through the ones that I have read from this list and then the ones that I have on my physical TBR from this list that I still want to read. So I have, of the 25, I have read 6 of them. And then I have 4 more on my physical TBR. So 10 out of the 25 we're going to talk about. So there's plenty more for you to go look at. So go check it out on your own. So let's start with the ones that I've already read that were on this list. So we've got The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I recently read this. I read this last summer and loved it, but I do understand why some places might ban it because there are definitely a lot of loose morals in this book and everyone's just very selfish and yeah, they're just not good people. But I loved this book. I was obsessed with it when I read it, so I definitely think this should be read. Then we have The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I read this when I was in undergrad, so it's been a little while. And I remember enjoying it, but the details of this book are a little fuzzy, but I do see why this one would be banned too, because a teenager is trying to get with a prostitute in it in one scene, so I could see why that might make some people mad. Still definitely think you should read it. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I love this book. I have read it, I believe, 3 times, and it never gets old. Wonderful book. There are some racial slurs, so I'm sure that has to do with why it was banned in some places, but I totally think it's worth a read. Beautiful story, beautiful characters. It's so riveting. I love it. This one I just read this year. We got 1984 by George Orwell. Definitely know why this got banned. Definitely some anti-government sentiments in here. You've got people that say that this is a socialist novel that is pro-socialist. Some say it's pro-communist. Some say it's anti-communist. Some say it's anti-democratic. Like, there's so many different takes on this book, so I see why it's so controversial. You still need to read it. It was great. One of my top books of this year. We have John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. This book broke my heart when I first read this. It is so short. I'm not going to say a whole lot about this. Not really sure why it's banned. I mean, there's some death in it, but I don't know that would be good enough reason to ban it. It's definitely one to tug at your heartstrings for sure. If you haven't read it, check it out. And then probably the most controversial book on this list is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I have read this. It's been a long time. I read this when I was in middle school, not for school. I just read it because I wanted to. And I definitely understand why this has been banned in some places. Slavery is not accurately portrayed. There's racial stuff. It's got some messiness to it. I still think it's definitely worth the read. I remember loving this book. I love the movie. I think I'm due for a reread of it pretty soon though, actually. So check it out and make up your own mind. All right, those are the 6 that I have read of the 25. So now let's talk about the 4 that I have yet to read that is on my physical TBR at this moment in time. We have Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I just know that this is about kids, being left to govern themselves. I could see why that would be banned. I don't know much more than that. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. I believe this was an anti-war novel, so I can see why this could be banned if it's anti-government, maybe a little bit, anti-war. So definitely understand, but again, haven't read it, so don't know a whole lot. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I actually don't really know very much about this book, so I don't know why this would be banned. I can't even really make a guess. And then we have Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Again, I don't really know much about this book, so I really can't make a guess as to why this was banned, but it was, and I'm gonna read it eventually. I don't know when, but I will, eventually. So those are the 4 that I have yet to read, and I will probably continue adding books from banned books lists to my TBR in the future. That is all I have for you guys today. I want to know all the banned books that you plan on reading this week. Let me know your favorites that you've read in the past. Let me know what ones you want to read in the future. Let me know all of that. I also got to share with you that I'm wearing another new shirt. I've been shopping a lot lately, and I've got my We're All Mad here Cheshire Cat shirt. I love the Cheshire Cat. And I thought it was fitting to wear this today for my banned books video because Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is a banned book. I believe that it's been banned because it quote unquote promotes drug use because of the caterpillar that smokes in it. I think that's hilarious. I love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It's one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite movies. I love the Cheshire Cat. He's my favorite character of all time. So, had to wear this shirt for this video. But drop in those comments and let me know what you guys are doing to celebrate Banned Books Week. We've got to keep reading these books. If people are trying to take them away from us, we of course need to keep reading them. There's a reason they don't want us reading them. So if somebody tells you you can't read a book, that is the book you go out and find and you read it immediately. I hope you guys have a lovely week and I'll see you next Monday. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.